What's good, everybody? Welcome to my second tutorial video, my second boxing technique tutorial. This week I'm going to be talking a little bit about the three basic stances in boxing, what the pros and cons are for each one, and kind of give you a general idea of where to use each one and where it's useful. So let's get right into it. There's obviously more stances and there's more ways to hold your hands and whatever, but there's really three basic stances in boxing. There's the first style, which is kind of the standard Peekaboo style, right? Where you have the gloves high, kind of up at your temples. You can see my feet. The feet are essentially the same on each one, right? Your front foot is pointed forward, sort of give you to some direction. Your back foot is facing outward for balance, and you're up on the ball of your back foot. So you sit down in the stance and the gloves stay high. So essentially, based on how your hands are held, the idea is you're catching off your gloves, you're moving your head from here. The jab is coming directly from your face, so it's coming pop, right back. Same with the backhand, pop. Everything is right here. If a body shot comes, the idea is that you're either gonna parry it by going down, or you're gonna drop that elbow down. So if you throw a jab and someone throws the body shot coming at, boom, drop, right? So there's a couple of reasons to use this stance, right? For one, the most obvious one is that your face is covered the entire time. If your glove up like this, you're not giving a clean opening to your face. But that being said, right, depending on your body type, if you're like me and you're more of a broad shoulder and your arms aren't the longest, right? If you shell up like this, you can see my whole body is wide open. So I'm gonna be spending a lot of time dropping my glove down, trying to drop elbows down. But really, in all reality, I'm probably gonna take more body punishment generally if I'm in this position, particularly from distance, right? There are guys that have longer arms that when they really shell up, their entire torso is covered. But I'm not one of those guys, right? So you do have to, in a sense, think about your body type when you're boxing, like what benefits my body type. So the basic tenets of the shell up, your gloves are high, you're nice and balanced, you sit down and you stance a little bit, and everything works from here, right? Boom, 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 boom. Everything's right in the center, and you're keeping this high, right? This is also where you can do the catch and shoot, where if somebody throws at you, you catch it here, and you shoot back with the other hand. So if I'm on the inside, if this is the opponent, I block, shoot back, right? Block, shoot back. Block, shoot. So this is a great stance for beginners and to avoid getting hit clean in the face. Aside from taking body punishment, right? The other disadvantage to this stance is that ultimately, even if you're blocking punches, right? If you're fighting a big puncher and you get hit on this glove, it's still gonna impact you, right? The focal point of this stance isn't necessarily head movement, even though you can move your head from this position. That's not the top purpose of it. The top purpose of it is to be aggressive, to take shots on your glove and shoot something back. And that works at times, and it works in certain positions. But you also don't necessarily, particularly in professional boxing, you don't necessarily want to just be taking a lot of punches on your glove. So the other two stances, right? The second stance I was talking about is the Euro stance. Similar positioning with your feet, right? And you have this front hand out a little bit, right? See it from the side. You got your front hand out a little bit. A lot of times you'll see guys drop it down and then drop right. They're here, drop it down, fake down. So what they're doing is they're trying to get you to look at this up here. Maybe you drop your hand because or you raise your hand because you're looking for a headshot, and then when they drop down, there's something opening. So this front hand is used almost as a teaser, and then on top of that, when your front hand is out this far all the time, when you go to throw your jab, it doesn't have to travel that far. So you're actually doing a pretty good job of establishing distance without having to throw a punch. If you're just holding your hand out here and you're mixing up where this is going, you're dropping down, right? This also doesn't necessarily have to be glued to your face. This can kind of be out here to catch shots as they come. I remember I've worked with guys that really teach, like, instead of catching punches directly on your gloves, catch them in the air. Pop. Catch them before they get to you. Pop. So that's what this stance is really good, is when you're on the outside, you're trying to discourage somebody from throwing at you. Catching. This is here. Boom. Boom. Again, you see a lot of guys from Europe, Eastern Europe, and the UK. You know, Vladimir Klitschko did it. Lomachenko does it at times. So it's a very popular position to be in when you're on the outside. It's not quite as effective on the inside, but it does work. And again, the whole idea is you're catching punches before they get to your body. You're moving your head still, just like you would with any other stance. But when you're going to throw your jab, you're maintaining that distance without throwing it anyway. So by the time you let it go, pop, it's nice and short, right? Circling, drop down, right? Someone throws the hook. So that is the Euro style stance. So the last stance I want to talk about is the Philly shell, which over the years has kind of gotten more popular because there's been guys that have been very successful with it. James Toney, Floyd Mayweather, just to name a couple. But there's been a lot of guys that are successful in the Philly shell. And the basics of the Philly shell, again, you're in a good boxing stance. Your body is sort of turned away from the opponent, right? So just so you can see my upper body. Your body is turned away from the opponent, so you're kind of presenting your back a little bit because you can't hit in the back in boxing, right? Your chin is sort of attached to your collarbone right here. So this front shoulder is used to roll straight punches that are coming at you, right? So if someone throws the left hand or the right hand, boom. Well, in my case, it would be a left hand because I'm a southpaw, so I would roll it this way. This arm down here is sort of used to block body punches, this elbow, this arm. So, and then this right here, you can either hold it kind of at your chin or you can hold it a little higher depending on where you are. But really what this is for, it's to parry the jab, it's to block the hook, right? And it's to counterpunch off the shoulder roll. So everything is nice and small. Ultimately, the only target that you're really presenting is the top part of somebody's head. And at that point, you would drop, right? You wouldn't just stand there and try to roll everything. And a lot of times when you see guys doing the Philly shell too, they get so caught up on trying to roll everything and do that perfect that they forget that, you know what I'm saying? You can bend at the waist, you can bend this way and move your head and slip back. Like, it's not just pop, 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 right? This is just one way to be. And you can do all of the same things from this stance that you can do from this stance. Like, for example, if I'm rolling off of the ropes and I'm catching a hook, I do that here, right, with the glove. If I'm doing it in the Philly shell, I do it here, boom, right? So a lot of it is the same principles, rolling off of the ropes, etc. Same kind of deal, right? If I'm catching on this glove and shooting back, it looks like this, right? Same deal. If this is coming and I roll it, boom, boom. So it's the same basic principle. Instead of catching off the glove, boom, and shooting back here, you're catching it off the front shoulder, boom, and shooting back, right? You can bring that up when you throw it if you want. Some guys do, some guys don't. In general, what I've found is that this is a stance that does work better for slightly smaller guys or shorter guys. Like, again, I don't have the longest arms, so when I shell up, my body's very exposed. But when I'm here, the reality is the target I'm presenting you is pretty small, right? There's not a lot you can go with unless you have good timing and you can get this one section and hit me with an overhand. It's very difficult to hit somebody if they know how to use this. The flip side of that too is if I'm fighting somebody that's the opposite stance, right? So I'm southpaw, I'm in my stance. Guy's here, he's a right-handed fighter. So if he throws the right hand, he's looking to go this way. He's got his front foot on the outside and he's looking to go around me. when he throws his right hand, his power hand, I'm gonna drop and I'm gonna pivot out, right? And you see Floyd do that against Pacquiao, where he's up on the ropes, Pacquiao's throwing the left hand, and he just dips down and rolls out. And he does it every single time. So, again, this is to, if you're in the same stance, catch the power hand. This is to paw at the jab, catch the hook. This is to block body shots, roll with body shots. And when the southpaw, not the southpaw, when the opposite stance fighter throws their power hand, we drop down. Or if anybody throws their overhand shot, we drop down. So that's the Philly shell system right there. But again, the three basic stances are glove up, then we have the Euro style, and then we have the Philly shell. This is good for fighting on the inside because you can catch and shoot from here. I can catch here, boom, boom. This is also good on the inside because I can catch here, roll back, catch here, boom, here, boom. This is better on the outside because you're establishing that distance with your front hand, dropping down, feinting, right? So again, good on the inside, good on the outside. And the most important thing too is it's a good thing to be aware of how to use each stance depending on the situation. You know, there's no reason to just know one stance. It doesn't make any sense. Guys that are exclusively here generally are kind of predictable, right? You can hit them in the body, you can throw combinations and hit them in the glove, and they're cool with just catching everything. Guys that fight like this aren't necessarily, you know, moving their head a lot. It's not the most mobile stance to be here. But you can catch off the glove and shoot back very effectively on the inside. And if you're fighting somebody longer and they're fast, it's just a good way of knowing, like, you're not gonna knock me out with one clean shot. This also has vulnerability to over-the-top shots. Even if the target I'm presenting is so much smaller, you know, there's still that vulnerability up here. So I have to have the timing to drop. I have to have the timing to slip to the side. I have to have the timing to roll back even more, or step if I need to, right? This is probably the least danger you're in, except at the same time, even if you're good at catching punches when they're on the way in, if you have this out here, you're leaving this all open and you're leaving this all open, and you're just making the assumption that you're gonna be able to catch or block or step with everything. And if you're fighting somebody that's also tall or has great timing, this can be a dangerous position to be in if you're not really disciplined about establishing that distance. So yeah, guys, that's my second technique tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed it. New episodes of the Slip and Weave podcast every week, new technique tutorials every week, and thanks for watching as always. I appreciate it. Peace.